there's a second set of numbers on it.
Sure, what's the other number?
This one is 3575KW. So K as in K Jewelers and
Gotcha.
W as in Walter.
Okay. Well, with that, that's the manufacturing date code. Basically, what that translates into, the first three numbers are going to be the day of the year. So it was the 357th day.
Oh,
and
wow.
Five would be the year itself. So that would have been like probably 2015.
Wow.
So it just basically tells you what day it was made.
This opening didn't take much thought. I talk about trains with faces a lot. My life looks cool, but it's really not. But now it's time for us to begin.
That way on like live products we have the ability to say like, oh, this batch was made, on July 2nd, 2018, and we can see if we get a lot of context, we can say, hey, that maybe we should take a look and see what was going on that particular day. It just kind of gives us a little bit of insight as to when things were manufactured instead of like, oh, well, these were made from 2015 to 2018, somewhere in that 3-year period.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see why that would be really helpful.
One of the reasons that Learning Curve, Tomy, and now Mattel did this and still do this is because it, like what Kevin said, it makes it very helpful when there's a recall to track where certain items were from and when they were made too. For example, this is the lead paint version of Toad. This is the reintroduction that it was part of the lead paint crisis, the second part of the lead paint crisis, and on the bottom, it pretty clearly says that this was the if this will ever focus, the 60th day of 2006, and the OW tells you what factory it was from, and the 2 zeros just tell you, I guess it was a Learning Curve item or a wooden railway. I'm not sure what the 2 zeros mean. Now, this trick obviously will also work on error items. Like this version of the Soda Line Caboose that actually has Thomas's chassis for some reason, or not chassis, just his wheels. It says that this one was made on the 201st day of 2009. You'll actually find out quite a lot of new things from these little codes. This version of the old-style Stepney was actually made, according to the code, this one was made in 2005. If it'll come up. This is an old-style item. The new style, there it goes. I hope y'all can see that. Yeah, the 283rd day of 2005. I find that remarkable because this is an old style item that was made in 2005 after the new style one was made. I think these were sold in home video bonus packs. So this is really cool. Sometimes these will actually be even more accurate than the packaging. For example, this version of Duck was made on the 298th day of 2014. RSQ stands for whatever place it was made at. And this version of the packaging, this is the one that came with it. Right here, by my thumb, it says 2013. However, they also punched the code on this packaging, which is helpful. This is really handy. So kudos to Mattel for putting it on the packaging too, because this says it's the 209th day of 2014, just like this item. Like these actually match, so that's really good. But the thing that you might spot initially is that it was made in 2013, but this one was actually made, I'd say, late 2014. So that's it's more accurate than the packaging in some cases. And sometimes these can even be more accurate than what their actual name is. This is the Day Out with Thomas 2010. and I'm sure you see where this is going already. The date on this one is the 348th day of 2009. Very late 2009, so they were probably just prepping for 2010. But still 2009. And it makes sense, but it's technically not 2010, so that's pretty cool. Now, what's also interesting, thank you, Gaston, my assistant director, is stuff like this. This will work on other brands. This is Percy and that present car. Percy, apparently the chassis of this version of Percy says it was made 2002. Bring back 2002. And the present car is actually 2004. But the codes are from 2006, 109th day of 2006, and the 315th day of 2005, respectively. So that's way off in my opinion. I didn't even know, like, you know, Take Along. This is Take Along actually did some of these things inaccurately as well. And it's weird how, like, this inaccuracy is actually inconsistent. All the Wooden Railway ones just said 2003, and now they say 2012. Apparently these are a little different. In fact, the character card, here's the funny thing. The character card actually says 2006. But we know this part is the late 2005. So it's remarkable that this is even more accurate than the character card. I'm sure that's not very common, but apparently that'll even happen. Just roll it. Yeah. And then, of course, we have this version of Salty. This is another good example. It says, let's see. Oh, yeah, this is 2003, but it's actually the 49th day of 2005. Yeah, 2005. And the card, the character card for this, and I know these are the ones that came with it. It says 2005 as well, actually. Duh. But, it's still, I'm curious to see what other brands this actually works with. Is it just the learning curve ones? I don't know. The, interesting thing is that some of these will actually not have this code. For example, this version of Lady does not have it on it, no matter how hard you look. However, I think this is because it's actually a 2003 item. Because you see this, this probably doesn't apply to other brands, just Wooden Railway. But the card, and this is the one that came with it, the card says 2003, and since this probably is actually a 2003 item, well, that must mean that the wheels are accurate, so I guess why bother putting on the code? I'm not sure why this is, but the earliest I've ever seen an item that have this code is 2004. Like this winter caboose, for example, the 801st day of 2004. And this isn't even, it actually even looked a little different than this in early 2004, because this is like a mid-2004. But that's a thing, apparently. And you have to make sure that, well, some of the early 2000s items that have this code don't have it on every single part. You see, Neville, for example, this Neville was made on the 2nd day of 2006. And this is the non-lead paint factory. However, his tender doesn't have this code on it. Now, then, sometime, once the lead paint crisis had been sort of sorted out, they sort of made it a little bit more restricted because or they tightened the standard, I guess. They made the standard higher, because after that, they would put it on the engine, the tender, pretty much everything in a set. And this started in late 2007. They also changed it from like that yellow type to the white type. At least it's at a few of the factories, at least. I'm not sure if they were all that way, but you see, this version of Molly and Molly's tender, you can see that they both have the code. And Molly was, won't focus, sorry. Bear with me a sec. There it goes. This is the 238th day of 2008 on both of these. So they made it, so if it's like before, if it's mid-2007 or before, then the code won't be like on a tender or something. So you have to have both pieces to actually know for sure. And there's only one other case that I know of where the code won't be there. And that's with test runs. So, for example, this version of Thomas is called the Sparkling Clean Thomas. And this was, and this one it doesn't have the code on the bottom. It doesn't have the code on the bottom, and it's, I know, there are other reasons I can tell this, but I know this was made after 2000 and, sorry, brain cramp for a second. I know this was made after 2007. And that's the topic for a different video, but this is a test run, because most people haven't even heard of this. And so this is, basically, if it's like a test run or something, that was like, these are really rare, obviously, but if it's a test run that wasn't released all the way, then it's not going to have that code because it didn't even reach that phase, I suppose. And, of course, not all test runs are going to be like this. For example, this red diesel, the one in the video with Kevin, it does have the code. It does have the recall code, but ironically doesn't even have the name because it's my custom engine diesel. That's for a different reason, though. Well, kind of the same reason, actually. And this is the 357th day of 2005. So, I'm sorry, 2015. Oh boy, I'm getting tired. But very, very late 2015. This one. So some test runs won't even have it. I think it's mostly the learning curve ones, and some test runs will have it. Like these, some Mattel ones will have it, some won't. That's pretty much all there is to it for the codes themselves. As for what the codes, the color of them and the font and all that, that's a topic for a different video.